Yes, people, welcome back to the channel and Happy New Year. I know it's a bit late. I'm officially back in 2023 and it's currently the FA Cup break, we call it a break. The teams are still playing, but it's the FA Cup round, so the Premier League has paused for a week. And I thought it was perfect to just come back. You know, I've took a few weeks off. We had Christmas, we had New Year's. I apologise. I'm back with the grind now. I've got a new mic. I'm trying to do things different in 2023, trying to put the work in. So we're going to get into it, and we're basically just going to see, where are we at? Where is the Premier League at? Where are the top six at? Where are teams within the table? Starting with my own club, Arsenal. Well, we're firmly top of the league still. We have a 5-point gap. It did increase to 7 when Manchester City drew with Everton, but after Arsenal drew 0-0 at home to Newcastle, it is gone back to a 5-point gap. Now, in terms of Arsenal, you know, I'm never going to say it. If you haven't already checked out the Fallen Giants podcast, all our Premier League predictions are on there and sort of breakdown of Arsenal. Can they win the Premier League? From my point of view, I'm never going to let it go. I'm not going to be able to admit it. In the previous seasons, they have bottled it towards the end of the year and let me down. So I'm never going to get there where I say we're going to go and win the league. But from my perspective, and I had this with Nick, almost like a little, you know, who said this, who said what. I believe, you know, I don't think it will be a proper title challenge. In terms of Nick, we sort of came to a conclusion of 30 game mark, will we be within 6 points? So it's interesting, we're 17 games in, we are 5 points clear. Now, if you said that at the start of the season, wow. I mean, it's been some turnaround, specifically for Mikel Arteta, from my point of view, and that squad. He's really gotten them playing, he's really got them ticking. And at the moment, you know, we lead the race. But there's some big games to come. I think of Tottenham away. I think of Manchester United. I think of 2 Manchester City games. And you start to get a little bit worried. But every test so far has been passed. In terms of Manchester City, well, their season starts now and it's, you know, chasing us down. They always seem to kick into gear in the second half of the season. And despite having a 1-1 draw against Everton, you do feel that's coming. I know they've changed their style of play. I know they're sort of, with Haaland up front, it's sort of a little bit different. But, you know, you're seeing in recent weeks, Mahrez come in, Grealish come in. There's players there that can just get the ball rolling. There's players, and suddenly, you know, 5 points may diminish quickly with them games as well that they will be playing Arsenal. Who knows where, but from their point of view, they are hunting Arsenal down. In some cases, you know, it's very nice to sit at the top of the league, but, you know, that team, you know, always chasing, it does feel like, you know, they've got something to chase there with Arsenal. Maybe it's sometimes easier being the team hunting the pack. And, you know, 5 points can change really quickly. From their point of view, you know, they just need to win games of football and hope Arsenal start to make mistakes. But at the moment, Arsenal passed everything. So at the moment, the title race is well and truly on. I don't know if it will reach the 30 game mark, unfortunately for my team. I sure hope so. I hope Nick's right. I want Arsenal to win the league. In terms of third place, and probably were one of the, you know, they had a draw the other day, and they've drawn twice against Leeds and then Arsenal. But in terms of, you know, best defensive record in the league goes to Newcastle. And they've probably other than Arsenal, been the most improved this season. What Eddie Howe has done there is exceptional. They're almost jumping ahead. We know it's a project. We know they've got money. They've got new owners. Very, very rich. But it's almost like if they were to get top 4, they've sort of jumped even more. And that would be down to Eddie Howe and the players. You know, some of the players, Almiron, they're playing out of their skin. And Eddie Howe's got it ticking there. And the Geordies must be very, very happy. In terms of my opinion, who I think has been the most informed team, you know, in the last maybe 8 games, something like that, 10 games, who I really think have got ticking, Manchester United, suddenly find themselves level with Newcastle and they're sitting in 4th. And, you know, you're sort of thinking, sooner or later they're going to be favourites to be in this top 4 race. And they are, Casemiro, what a player, what a DM. He's just changed it around there. Having a proper midfielder in there has changed a lot. You're seeing Rashford flying on form. And, you're starting to think, okay, they've got a little bit of squad depth here. If they can make a few additions, they will be right up there. Ten Hag's doing a terrific job. They're on form. You do feel with United, they have these games where they may just make mistakes. They may cost points. And, that's where it's in and out. But in terms of United fans, I'm pretty sure a lot of them are happy with what Ten Hag is doing. In terms of Tottenham, very, very difficult to analyse, make predictions on, decisions where you're at, Conte in, Conte out. It sort of goes round in circles. In my opinion, they're just a frustrating team. The other day they played Palace away, which is a hard game. Palace were all over them first half, and Spurs went and won the game 4-0. Now, it just shows what they are doing recently. Every game's pretty much a comeback. I know that wasn't really a comeback, but the way they played in the second half of all these games, they were 2-0 down to Brentford, come back 2-2. There's a lot of comebacks. Harry Kane is scoring goals, which is good for them. Son, not so much. But in terms of overall, they sit a couple points off top 4. The overall, I wouldn't really be looking at Conte's head. I know there is change being spoken about, maybe the style of play with what you get under a new manager. I don't really think he's done enough wrong to cost him his job at this stage. But you just feel like they're not really that. They're just frustrating, and I would be frustrated as a Tottenham fan, and especially when your North London rivals are sitting top. It makes you question, could a project manager do more? Could it be a bit more exciting? Could we aim higher? Now, Conte was always going to be this quick fix, this quick, can he do something? And it's still going to be whether they can win a trophy. Probably a trophy is more important than top 4 this season. And, they messed it up in the EFL Cup. They're looking towards the FA Cup, but we'll see where they go. So for me, there's not much to say about Spurs. They're not in a bad position. It's just frustrating. It must get a little bit tiring chasing a trophy. In terms of Liverpool, they have been up and down, and the likes of Núñez, 1 week he finished one right in the bottom corner. Looks like he can finish, then he can't hit a barn door. It's so frustrating to me from an outsider that Liverpool have not addressed their midfield. I don't understand why they've not addressed their midfield and why they've not going to spend money in that midfield area. They've signed Gakpo recently. Again, another good forward. And don't get me wrong, I'm not slagging them off. I'm not saying, but they've spent hundreds of millions on their forwards and forgotten about the midfield. And we're still seeing Henderson's, Milner's. They've got Thiago. Fabinho's sort of coming to, he's probably had his best years. The likes of Harvey Elliott, 19 years old or 20 years old, very good talent. But when you go away to Brentford the other day, you just feel as though it's, you know what to expect. Most of their players are over 6 foot. They're sort of high pressure, energy, get around you, sort of beat you up a little bit. And that's not to slate their football. Brentford are very, very good. But it sort of felt like Klopp got outdone by the manager there. And expecting, sometimes the real young talent, even if they're special, maybe that's not the game for them. Maybe a different game down the line and you have certain players, but they don't at the moment have the resources. So I don't understand why they've not made additions in that area. Some of the ones down there, and there's one we're going to have to speak about, is Chelsea. A lot of heat on Graham Potter right now. And if you haven't checked out, like I said, the Fallen Giants, I've been a backer of Potter. I like Potter. Maybe not necessarily I'm saying I've backed him at Chelsea because it's only quite new. But I've really liked what he's done in football. I liked what he did at Brighton. And I rate him quite highly. I admire him. He's struggling at the moment to find form. We have spoken about this where he needs like an overhaul of the squad. Chelsea need an overhaul squad, regardless of what manager. I hope that they stick with him. I think he's a project manager. I think Bowley has invested and gone down that line. I think he signed something like a 5-year deal. He spent loads of money on, on his contract alone, but also his staff from Brighton's contract. And they're looking at players they can bring. They've also invested in a lot of young talent. So I do feel like the project is there. I hope this recent form. The only thing is they sit 10th in the table. You would feel that they need to gain some win, a little bit of momentum towards the end of the year. I don't think, though, a Europa League conference is going to help them. So whether they, I don't know exactly where you want to finish there, but I don't know. It's a sticky one, but I do hope they stick with him, and I do think they just need to shuffle out, get rid of some of these players. I mean, Aubameyang was a disaster from the start. I don't know why they signed him. There's lots of players really that need to go. There's a lot of aging players. Now, I do get there is injuries right now. But yeah, that's what Chelsea is. I hope they stick with Potter because I just feel there's more of a project. I don't think you should be this team. You've gone past that era of sacking manager after manager. And it did work, don't get me wrong. But, I think Bowley's going down a different route. We'll see with that one. Some standout names that come to my mind, Fulham are playing exceptional. And they got a very big game against Chelsea, a little derby there. They're sitting 7th and they just keep winning. Brighton, very, very good, scoring goals. They've beat like everyone in the top 6. I think Arsenal beat them and everyone else have lost or drawn. It's going to teams scoring 4-5 goals. Very, very exciting. And then I look down the table and I start to think who is getting relegated from this, looking at this stage of the season. Southampton for me are in big trouble. If I was going to put anyone in the league who I would say are going down, Southampton's tops that list. Nathan Jones has come in and it's been a disaster. I think there's even talk of already replacing him. I don't know what route they're going down. It almost felt like, he's done well with low budget teams, but it's almost like they're, ready for the Championship, unfortunately. They're in real trouble. They sit bottom. Not that many points difference. It's quite tight down there. Wolves around there. Everton around there. West Ham pulling down the table. If you haven't already, check out a video a month or two ago, which I did on West Ham. In my opinion, Moyes has to go. And it's not to slate or dig personally at Moyes. I just think the club needs he needs fresh ideas. It needs a new, maybe even a young manager to really, try and get the best out of these players long term. I just don't see how it's working. And Moyes it's getting worse and worse. The form is getting worse. The only real thing that's they're hanging on to is the Europa League. I think the time has come. Fresh ideas. Yeah, I'm looking down the table. That's where we are. I'm trying to work out, who will finish. I hope Arsenal win the league. If you haven't checked out all of my other content, please go to subscribe to the channel and check out the Fallen Giants podcast. I'm on there too. Thanks for watching the video. Please like, comment and subscribe. Check me out on Twitter @_Charlie Casey. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one and peace.